can't believe I did it. I recorded an entire video, and then after listening to it again, I realized my microphone volume was way too high. So it sounded like this the whole time. Okay, in the last video, we took a look at adding Markdown front matter to our Markdown files and then parsing them. And in this video, we're going to finally fix that updates component that wasn't sorting things properly because it was using the file timestamps and not my Markdown front matter that I added. So inside my index.tsx and JavaScript pages, inside of my getStaticProps function, I use a function called getRecentUpdates. That's inside my utils folder. And it's just a function that returns this recent updates promise. Now, it looks weird that I have this function that literally just returns a promise. Why am I doing that? It's an easy explanation. I'm just messing around. The thing that I was trying to go for here is get recent updates has the keyword get. And I always want to see a function call whenever I see the keyword get. So in this file, I created a promise that when the file gets loaded, we'll immediately start going and collecting data and doesn't wait for a function to be called. And then when this function is called, it just returns that promise that's over there. I'm not sure if I like this 100%. It does feel a little bit weird, a little bit icky. So don't do that unless it's something that you like to do, but it's definitely an experiment. I'm not really following any best practice here. I'm just seeing what makes sense semantically. Like, if a developer reads this, will they know how to use my function just from the name of the function or just from the type of the function, things like that. All right, so let's take a look at recent updates promise. Basically, it's the file paths promise and then awaits the response for that file path promise, returns file paths, and then we map the file paths to this function called getFileMetadata, which takes that file path and then uses Node.js to read the file. We convert that file into a V file like we did in the last episode, and that's just for compatibility reasons for this unified remark processor that I made. So the next thing I do is I parse that markdown file and I pass that as well as the V file into this unified remark processor function, run it, and then the front matter gets added onto the markdown V file under data. So I can get the front matter and then I return that along with the file path. So that is what is returned here, but they're promises. They're not the data itself. So what I need to do is you need to use await promise all on this array, and that should return an array of this file path and front matter object. Front matter has a key called modified. So in this sort function, I take the first modified, set that to A. I take the second argument modified, set that to B. I parse them, I subtract them so that I get the newest items first. And then I return that array, but I only return the first 10 elements of that array. And I convert the file path into a path array because that's actually what we use on the pages. So back inside my page, I got my recent updates and I pass it into my page. I could have accessed them here, but I'm just making things uniform because I already have them added to my page props context. So I have this hook use page props that I can get recent up, and I can use this on any component. So now that I think of it, hold on, this isn't even necessary. I could just have recent updates. Yeah, we're gonna do a live refactor. Oh my goodness. Delete that, remove this, go inside recent updates. I can remove that, go to my type, remove that, expand this, and add my hook. So now I got recent updates inside my component. Okay, got a little bit distracted. Added recent updates to my recent updates component, passes it in, and then for each one of those updates, I add an update card, which has a link to the page. I take the first item in the path and I map it to this icon map. So in this case, JavaScript has icon JavaScript. If I have more root pages, then I would add more here. Like if I was doing CSS or HTML, they would go here. And then the rest of the path, I just join together to create the title. This I could actually change. I don't like this. I want to actually get title from here. And then for the subheader, I use day.js, which is a minimalist JavaScript library that parses, validates, manipulates, and displays dates and times for modern browsers. And if you know how to use Moment.js, you already know how to use Day.js. And I'm only using the from now method, which will give me the time from now in plain English. And this is the result. It gives me the title, it gives me the JavaScript, it says 3 days ago. And is it only 3 days? Nope, we got more. So 4 days, 8 days, 10 days, it's working. When you click on it, it goes to the right page, still works. I've reached an interesting point in the project lifecycle where I've accomplished all that I have set out to accomplish, which was very little. I just wanted to have a playground for me to actually explore code a little bit and maybe share that with other people. Aside from adding new pages, there aren't many things that I feel strongly about implementing just quite yet. It doesn't mean that the site is perfect. No, there's lots wrong with the site. But in terms of new features, I only have so much time. And it's come to a point where I need to take a look at what are the next logical steps to make the site even better. I could just add more stuff, but I'm not sure if that will actually make the site better. Might make it better marginally, but not in any significant way. Yeah, you can see the code, you can run the code, you can look at the tree and navigate to different pages. The home page is really lackluster, but in terms of functionality, I'm not quite sure what the next step is quite yet. So I think the next step is going to actually take the most amount of time, which is waiting and seeing what needs to change on the site to make it better, to see what the audience, what the users demand from the site. Yeah, but that frees me up to move on to the next project. Why am I doing finger guns?